The Trump administration wants you to, if you're a woman, especially, if you're a part of the 25% in this community, the Trump admin, especially if you're a white woman, the Trump, the Trump admin wants you to and hard. The Trump admin wants you to be nutted inside of. No pulling out. That's right. Doesn't matter. They want barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. Now, let me explain something to you. Where does it say white women? Well, that's the reason why I brought it up. That's the reason why I said white women. Great eye from this chatter who says, where does it say white women? Of course, they don't directly say white women. But the reason why they say you need to do more births in the United States of America, in spite of the fact that the United States, as opposed to other developed nations, has not fallen into the birth rate crisis that we see in places like Japan and numerous other countries, even China to a certain degree, is because there is one thing that the United States of America has done that allows there to be a constant group of younger people that are having babies on U.S. soil. This is, of course, also known as immigration. That's right. Something that I talk about all the time. The only reason why the United States of America did not actually fall into the same birth rate decline that many other European and Asian countries have fallen into, despite being a developed economy, is because of the endless sequence of migration into the country. Migrants that are undocumented have documented children that are born on U.S. soil. So the reason why I say white women is because of that reality. Because if you adjust to the overall birth rates, or if you look at the actual demographic makeup across the board in the United States of America, as opposed to other developed countries, the American nation does not have the same issues. Unless you don't want to have immigration into the country any longer and you want to denaturalize people that are already here and also make it so that birthright citizenship no longer exists. No longer exists. That's the reason. That's the major reason. Don't even get duped by anybody that tells you otherwise. Now, a big part of the reason why American citizens are not having children to the same degrees that they used to back in the day is because of something that many of you that are at that age know very well. Economic concerns. That's right. This is the problem with all developed nations, as a matter of fact. All developed nations have this issue because the more developed you are, the harder it gets to actually have a single parent household or two parent household where there's a single income earner. Okay? That is a major reason as to why people don't as much. That's a major reason as to why people don't have children, especially in a place like the United States of America, where childcare is incredibly costly. Daycare is expensive. Childbirth is expensive. These are the reasons as to why people don't have children anymore, partially because they don't even have time to find a appropriate partner and then to go on a wonderful journey of learning and development and fall in love and then also live with one another and then also get married and have a child and then raise the child. You don't have no time for none of this shit. You have like 10 hours to yourself outside of sleeping, and you oftentimes spend those 10 hours gambling on Roulette or stake.com with the hopes, or DraftKings with the hopes that you can get like a big payout. So yeah, Sigma Grindset, baby. Too busy following the cryptocurrency trends with the hopes that maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to get lucky. America has a birthing crisis because we're deporting people, and the only people capable of having children and receiving this credit are white people, and they won't give it to other people. Hasanabi, now you're comparing it to China. Say America will have the same birth rate problems that China used to have, and China does not have high birth rates anymore and will scaffold by Trump raising prices. Am I getting that right? No. No, I mean, China is nowhere near as bad in terms of the birth rate issue as opposed to a country like Japan or even a place like South Korea. And the reasons as to why they have, you need to look into this more. The reasons as to why they have those issues is because they just don't have free time. I mean, I joke and say it's because 2D women is far too great. Everyone wants Hatsune Miku and no one wants the real deal. But that's just a joke. It's not just about work. It's also about the cost. But the biggest reasons as to why South Korea and Japan especially have these diminishing birth rates is because of what their daily existence looks like. They literally just do not have time to take care of children. It's too costly, and they also don't have time. They're working. You say poor education, except people with poor education, ironically enough, are the people that are popping out babies. People in, like, this is why, part of the reason why I yell at people when they say, well, the population increased in Gaza, how dare you say it's a genocide, is because having more children is not indicative. Having more children is not indicative of prosperity. As a matter of fact, it's the exact opposite. Okay? Like, population increased in Xinjiang as well. It's a combination of the financial costs and the cultural problems in South Korea. The gender dynamics in South Korea are incredibly abusive towards women. Why would they want to bang the incels? I mean, that also plays a role in this, but also the cultural aspects are highlighted, or the gender divisions are highlighted as a direct consequence of, I think, people's material conditions. So, what is the Trump administration doing to address this problem? Baby bonuses and menstrual cycle classes are among the ideas pitched to Trump aides as they consider plans of boosting the birth rate. The reality is the cat's out of the bag, okay? The toothpaste out of the tube. What you have to do if you want to force this dynamic is to eliminate birth control and also make it so that women can't work. Like, make it illegal for women to work so they have nothing else to do and they just keep popping babies. That's it. These are that's the only way. If you think that this is if this is a real problem that we have to address, then that's what you have to do. And I fear maybe that's where we're gonna get to eventually, because $5,000 to have a child is not gonna cut it. The White House has been hearing out a chorus of ideas in recent weeks for persuading Americans to get married. Here, let's just listen.
White House assesses ways to persuade women to have more children. This article is by Caroline Kitchener and read by an automated voice. The White House has been hearing out a chorus of ideas in recent weeks for persuading Americans to get married and have more children, an early sign that the Trump administration will embrace a new cultural agenda pushed by many of its allies on the right to reverse declining birth rates and push conservative family values. One proposal shared with aides would reserve 30% of scholarships for the Fulbright program, the prestigious government-backed international fellowship, for applicants who are married or have children. Another would give a $5,000 cash baby bonus to every American mother after delivery. A third calls on the government to fund programs that educate women on their menstrual cycles, in part so they can better understand when they are ovulating and able to conceive. Those ideas and others are emerging from a movement concerned with declining birth rates that has been gaining steam for years and now finally has allies in the U.S. administration, including Vice President J.D. Vance and Elon Musk. Policy experts and advocates of boosting the birth rate have been meeting with White House aides, sometimes handing over written proposals on ways to help or convince women to have more babies, according to 4 people who have been part of the meetings who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss private conversations. Administration officials have not indicated what ideas, if any, they might ultimately embrace, but advocates expressed confidence that fertility issues will become a prominent piece of the agenda, noting that President Trump has called for a baby boom and pointing to the symbolic power of seeing Mr. Vance and other top officials attend public events with their children. "I just think this administration is inherently pronatalist," said the activist Simone Collins, referring to the movement to reverse declining birth rates. Ms. Collins, along with her husband Malcolm Collins, sent the White House several draft executive orders, including one that would bestow a National Medal of Motherhood to mothers with 6 or more children. "Look at the number of kids that major leaders in the administration have," Ms. Collins said, adding, "You didn't hear about kids in the same way under Biden." The behind-the-scenes discussions about family policy suggest Mr. Trump is quietly building an ambitious plan to promote the issue, even as he focuses much of his attention on higher-profile priorities such as federal cuts, tariffs, and mass deportations.
Are you
Project
ready?
2025,
I have a solution. Okay. Hear me out. When was the last time everybody was popping out like 8 kids? At a time when maybe some of those children were not making it past like 12 or 13 or 14 due to a bunch of different medical complications because vaccines were not readily available. Okay. The other reason as to why they were popping out like 8 kids was because you needed farm hands. Why would you need farm hands if agriculture is automated? How do we get back? How do we return? Okay, how do we return to tradition? On the one hand, we eradicate vaccines. Shouts out to RFK, big dog in the building, so that you have to at least have like a couple, right? So that you can make sure that some of them will make it past the age of 20. And how do we get back to an agrarian style structure like a medieval peasant? We have a monarch. And we destroy the global web, the international trade that we have designed. Okay? Bring back polio, bring back measles, bring back tuberculosis, bigly. Destroy global trade. Okay? Destroy global trade in its entirety and go back to behaving like the Amish. There you go. You have solved your problem. And if you can't do that because people like their treats and they like their technology and all this then you just basically make it illegal for women to work in the workplace. You make it illegal for women to get birth control. You make it illegal for some people to get abortions and make it very legal and forcible for others to also get abortions. You know, I can't seem to place my finger on it, but there was definitely a group that did that before where it was illegal for some people to get abortions. And then it was not only encouraged and legal, but forced for other groups to get abortions. I just can't. It's been like 100 years at this point, so I just can't remember what country did that. Oh, that's right. It was Nazi Germany. That's right. Okay, so yeah, I think that this would fix a lot of America's problems if this is a problem at all. I didn't believe Nathan Tankus when he said this admin was really concerned about birth rates until now. Oh, no, they do. They're that stupid. Now, some of you are being real gay and lame and woke in the chat and talking about universal child care. Yuck. That's communism. Children might learn the wrong lessons there, like sharing is caring, or that the government should lend a helping hand in times of need. We can't have that. We should go back. We must return to agrarian peasantry. That's my solution. If this is a problem, the way to fix it is to do degrowth, to go back to anarcho-primitivist structures, to become an agrarian society, or make it illegal for women to work and also make it illegal for women not to have a child, not to be pregnant at all times. Just saying. And you can't really stop women from going to work, especially when they're the most educated in the workforce. So I think the problem starts at education. We need to make it illegal for women to actually go to school to begin with, because you don't need to learn how to read. You don't need to learn how to write. It's going to put dangerous ideas in your head if you start exercising your critical thinking skills. We don't want that. So I think women should also not go to school so that they can't even be competitive in the job market. Eliminating 50% of the workforce, by the way, automatically opens up a bunch of those gay jobs, desk jobs for men who want to do it. Seems to me like I've solved the problem. Pol Pot has some good ideas about societal restructuring, I believe. They had tons of kids, and he hated nerds too. That's right. Yeah, we should do Pol Pot style stuff. Not wearing any glasses. I don't need it. Ethan was right. My glasses are fake. Actually, my glasses are fake. They were always fake. As a Pol Pot joke. Oh, Pol Pot, but for only the tech bros. Yeah. Are you still talking about the U.S.? Sounds like what you're describing is the Taliban doing. Maybe they're not so off base. You know you are a lower caste in the Turkish system. What caste system exists in the Turkish system? Would you ever do a history lesson on communism, Pol Pot in Cambodia? I've had Blowback Boys on when they talked about it. Anyway, isn't that a jump to claim this is for child labor? Seems more likely that a white supremacist policy given the sixth child encouragement, which is only sustainable in high income. Wait, I didn't say it was for child labor. No, you misunderstood my point. My point is not. No, my point is create an environment where child labor is a necessity so that people will have to have more children. You're misunderstanding the point I'm making, because a part of the reason why people don't have 6 kids anymore is because you don't need 6 farmhands. Do you not understand? So my argument is we have to erode material conditions to such a degree that, like, you need to 12 farmhands. Well, I say 6 because you pop out 12 and then infant mortality rates take like half of those, right? So then you end up with like 6. Then I'm assuming there's a little bit of back and forth, like a little bit of drama amongst like who gets to retain ownership over the farm, and then there's like a little bit of a knife fight. So by the end of the process, you're left with like 4. Okay, one of them is too physically disabled from working on the farm for years and years, and the other one there's always a very strong boy who also is, not all there in the head, right? So then that eliminates it down to 2, okay? And, they maybe split the farm 50-50. Oddly specific there. I'm just saying, like, we must return. We must return to tradition. What about the mother survival rate? Nobody cares about that. Don't be crazy. Mother survival rate. You can always just swap out the brood mare for another one. Hello? Does that seem like a society that is good to live in, by the way? Because I don't think that this is the best way to exist. Yeah, it is happening, though. That's true. West Virginia couple charged with trafficking their adopted black children to be used as slaves, authorities allege. This is from June 27, 2024. Also, child labor laws are... Florida, Arkansas was like one of the pioneers in the child labor laws movement, where they are loosening up the pesky nanny state regulations surrounding such things. Child labor. Someone's got to work in the factory. You know what I'm saying? Someone's got to pick these goddamn crops. Eliminate matrilineal marriages so all lands and titles pass through the male line. People will be happy. People are having boys off the chain, so we have more soldiers. Yeah, so great stuff overall. Pro-natalist stuff across the board. Let's take a look at how they're covering it in the media.
And the New York Times reports the Trump administration is considering proposals to encourage more American women to get married and have babies. The incentives would potentially include giving $5,000 in cash to American mothers after delivery and funding programs to educate women on their menstrual cycles. The administration officials have publicly promoted the pro-natalist movement on several occasions.
I want more babies in the United States of America. And I want beautiful...
Ew. I feel like every time we show JD Vance saying that, or Elon Musk saying that, there's like at least 1,000 women that decided to never have children. Like, I feel like it just shuts off, like... If I was a lady with a vagina, my pussy would just close off at the mere thought of following the commands of this loser, okay? There's just 0% chance. Ain't nobody's after this.
Beautiful young men and women who are eager to welcome them into the world and eager to raise them.
The birth rate is very low. In almost...
Ooh, back to back. That's not good. Back to back. Oh, my God. I'm sorry for doing this to the ladies in the chat. Your ovaries are officially dry right now. It's over. you're skipping your period this month, but that's only because this was automatic birth control.
Every country. And it's something, unless
Don't
that
worry,
changes,
you're not pregnant.
Civilization will disappear. America had the lowest birth rate, I believe, ever. That was last year.
I'll be known as the fertilization president, and that's okay.
Oh my God. Barren wasteland down there, dude. Nothing. Oh, the trifecta. All of the grossest losers being like, you're gonna so hard. You're gonna be having so much sex, nutting only. We're putting together a group of police that are gonna monitor through your laptop camera. They're gonna monitor your strokes. And if you pull out, we will arrest you. No more pulling out.
Not bad.
And New York Times reporter Caroline Kitchener joins me now to talk more about this. Caroline, thanks for coming on. I know you did a deep dive on this topic. So what else can you tell us about these potential incentives and the overall goal here?
Well, we don't know.
Also, before we get into this, the ethical way to do this is unironically to pay people not $5,000, but basically to treat it as like, if you have a child, it's like a job, a well-paying job. Like if you really, really, really want to improve birth rates, and that's what you got to do. You got to, on the one hand, reduce work hours and improve wages in general so that a single earner can at least make up for the lack of having two earners in a household. Okay. And child rearing is a job. You have to also make it so that there's universal child care, and you have to pay people. You have to literally either have government babysitters, universal child care, and on top of that, if people don't want to opt into that program and they want to take care of their own children, you have to just pay them. Like it's a job.
Know what the Trump administration is going to do yet, but I had started hearing from sources that they were.
Sky's the limit, on the other hand, for the depravity of this administration. Maybe they just like create rape brigades. I don't know. They're so psychotic. Like I don't know where this goes at all. It's very, very scary that this is literally their this is what they are trying to do though. Like it is so terrifying that this is unironically something that they are really, really focused on.
Were taking these meetings and they were having these conversations, and they were saying to advocates who care very deeply about the declining birth rate, here, come to us, bring us your proposals. And so that's what they did. And they've really been hearing them out in recent weeks. So I think it's anybody's guess what they're going to do, but I think it's fair to expect them to do something.
As we're talking about this, the national birth rate has declined since 2007. Last year, the CDC reported birth rates are at a historic low. So why are Americans having fewer children, and why is that so significant?
I think there are a lot of reasons for it, and different parts of this movement highlight different reasons in line with their goals. So from social conservatives, from Christian conservatives,
I will say it is kind of illuminating when you consider who are the major people making this advocacy to get women to have more children, because ultimately you got to have a lady there, right? And it's all dudes. It's all guys. I assume there's some rabid, psychotic Christian women out there that are a part of this process too. But like most of the people who are like, you need to ladies, you need to are all dudes. So wonder what kind of cool ideas they will cook up.
About, the crisis of the traditional family and how media and politics is giving women kind of a different idea of what they should value, that they should value work over family. You hear them talk a lot about how people are having babies later, getting married later, or not getting married at all.
Yeah, look at this. $5K won't even pay for 3 months of daycare. This baby bonus is going to incentivize the wrong people. Ooh. A little bit of racialized element there, you know what I mean? I thought you just wanted to improve birth rates. Why are you fantasizing about who is giving birth now? Interesting. We have GOG, Groyper Occupied Government. Yeah, It's not what David Duke thinks. It's not all the white supremacists that said it was Zog, Zionist occupied government were wrong. We have Groyper occupied government. It's true. It really is true, which is so gross. Like JD Vance is as close. JD Vance is a Groyper, and he is one heart attack away from being the president. Words cannot describe how bad of an idea this is. This is an absolutely horrible idea. Anybody that broke doesn't need a child. Average people don't want kids because it's too expensive. This feels like it just encourages bad parents to have more kids. How do you encourage awesome people to have more kids? I like that everyone's main concern here is eugenics. Like, we're going to... Also, you're in the comments of a Fox News YouTube video, okay? If you are a commenter on a Fox News YouTube video, you are the bad person to have children, okay? By your estimation, in your mind, you're thinking black and brown people are just going to have kids to get more money from the government, but it's actually you that is the bad person that shouldn't be having children then, okay? Not the awesome people. Anyway, great stuff.
All. And that's a really big concern for a lot of people that are very close to President Trump and this administration.
You say the desire to increase funds to help mothers and babies could collide with other administration priorities. What do you mean by that?
Well, we've seen big cuts in a lot of these agencies that are very relevant to some of these goals. For example, in the Department of Health and Human Services, we saw.
Yeah, why? I wonder why people are not having children. Let's see. America's home buyers are getting older. Wow. I wonder if that has something to do with it. Also, repeat buyers is crazy. From 1981 to 2023, repeat buyer average age is 58. All buyers is 49, and first-time buyers has gotten up to 35 years old. Repeat buyers are a median age of 58 in 2023, while first-time buyers were at 35. We're talking about a different profile of home buyer today. By the numbers, the median age of all buyers increased from 31. All buyers, the median age of all buyers in 1981 was 31 years old. It shot up to 49 in 2023. So you're basically 50. Its record high was 53 last year compared to 42 a decade ago. I wonder, home buyers continue to be mostly white.
Massive cuts to the Division of Reproductive Health. Now that's something that's the IVF division was within that part of the department, and yet you've heard Donald Trump say, I am the fertilization.
Yeah, the irony is that if the average age of all home buyers was 31 and now it's like 50, that means it's the same people buying homes. That means the repeat buyers are the first-time home buyers 30 years ago. So it's just, it's basically just the same people that keep buying and selling homes.
President, I am the father of IVF, and making really big promises in that area.
Oh yeah, he said he's the father of IVF and he's gonna be the fertilization president. Gross.
But yet you see these cuts. So I think, we have to see how, these priorities align with DOGE and potential cuts that we have seen and that we could see going forward.
All right. New York Times reporter Caroline Kitchener, we appreciate.
Let's take a look at how Fox News is covering
President Trump endorsing the idea of giving up to $5,000 to mothers to help increase birth rates.
Yeah. Right-wingers are not going to like this because they're going to fantasize about black people having children specifically so they can get government paychecks, which is ironically what they said about welfare in general, okay? And how welfare destroyed the black community. And also, on top of that, $5,000 is not enough to begin with. Like, what's $5,000 going to do, man? $5,000 doesn't even get you out of the hospital, okay? Like, $5,000 does not cover the cost of childbirth. It's a quarter. It covers a quarter of childbirth, not child rearing, just birth. Think about that.
Mr. President, there are reports that you're considering doing something for moms across the country, giving them some type of bonus so that they have child. Were you considering that? Or?
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Maggie Anders is the host of Undoctrination and a content creator for the Foundation for Economic Education. She joins me now. Maggie, what do you think? Is a $5,000 incentive a good idea for people to have kids?
Well, Todd, thank you so much for having me this morning. While I wholeheartedly agree with the Trump administration that America is facing a fertility epidemic, I don't think a $5,000 baby bonus is really going to cut it. You know, some estimates put the average cost of raising a child in America at $23,000. By the time that child is 18, that's $414,000.
Bro, what the 23 grand? Where are you raising the child? In a barn? 23 grand? What? That is not 23 grand is like if you get like a cheap daycare. What? 23 grand a year is in my opinion cheaper than what we are. It's a underestimation. Yeah, maybe if you're raising the baby in the barn, dude. 23 grand is the average cost of childbirth. What are we talking about? She says 23 grand a year, and the estimation totals to 400,000 by the time the child gets to 18. And that's not true. I'm saying that's like cheap. That's on the super cheap side.
$1,000, not accounting for inflation or the cost of college tuition. Americans are facing a cost of living crisis. We're tired of being taxed to death, and we're tired of our dollar being devalued through wasteful government spending programs and Federal Reserve money printing. And I think this is going to make that problem worse.
Yeah, Maggie, I agree with your top line.
Yeah, we didn't even factor in tariffs yet. we didn't even factor in the cost of living that is going to skyrocket as a direct consequence of the big, beautiful, bold, and brave Liberation Day moves that this administration engaged in.
And on this, kudos to the president for tackling this issue because it is a big deal. Look at these stats. The 2024 fertility rate, that's just last year, remains well behind the rate required to replace the current population. So something needs to be done. What would you suggest to the president to fix that problem?
Absolutely. So I think this crisis is both financial and cultural. So first, financially, I think we need to lower the tax burden on most Americans, as well as deregulate key industries that are driving up that cost of having a child. So housing would be one of them. And then as far as cultural, I think we need to look at success stories. Israel is one of the few developed countries that has an above replacement fertility rate. And they're doing...
Yeah. That's literally because of the Haredi population. What the dude? Yeah, Israel has their own Mormons, or not Mormons, sorry. Well, Mormon / Amish adjacent. Yeah, they're popping out like 7 at a time. That's literally the reason, chat. Understand something, okay? That is the biggest factor here. Also, it's crazy because, you know, it's also a nation built on, obviously, ethno-supremacist ideology, and therefore they have a big problem with you know, making sure that they out the Arab population and the Palestinian population in general. So like there's that, you know, that's why they have the cum squad for the IDF, the goon platoon, as you know. So it's a matter of like this is a one way that you can actually, you know, defend the front lines. Having said that, a big part of the reason, like I said, the big part of the reason why Israel has overcome this problem is because of the Haredi population. The religion is highly eugenicist, speaking from my own personal experience as a Jew. I mean, that's part of it, but like I said, it's mostly because of the Haredi population. Their numbers are exploding. The numbers of the numbers of Reform Jews in Israel proper, their birth rate is very different.
Doing something very differently. One of those things is that the entire family unit is involved in raising a child, and Israelis often see childbirth as something more important than just immediate satisfaction, right? So they want to pass down traditions, they want to extend their lineage, and I don't know if Americans are thinking long term about that. Unfortunately, politics is downstream from culture, so if we want to change that point, that's something that has to start with individuals.
Let's drill down on culture for a second. A 2024 poll reveals the main reasons people under 50 are not having kids. They just don't want to, 57%. They want to focus on other things, 44%. Concerns with the world, can't afford to, concerns about the environment. This is admittedly a very biased question here, but how do we convince people that the joys of having kids and being...
Bro, everything is people have nothing to look forward to. People have no free time. Like, you fix a lot of those problems because cost right here, can't afford to, does not factor the other things that I'm talking about. Like when I was talking about Japan, right? A big part of that is because, like, well, why would I bring another life to this shit ass world? Like, no, I want to have fun. I don't want to have children. I want to have fun. I have like very little time to myself to begin with. That's the attitude that a lot of people have. Everything's lol. No, everything's computer. Everything's computer.
How do we convince people that the joys of having kids and being out late last night at my oldest first T-ball game ever
like, dude, shut up. The biggest reason why people, oh God, this guy's so stupid. Like, I don't think people can even imagine a world where they have children, because even if you have enough spare time where you go on dates, okay, and you meet a lovely lady, okay, and then you guys start living with one another and you don't hate each other's guts, and slowly but surely you're like, all right, let's take the next step, okay, either by accident or deliberately, and one day you find yourself nutting inside of this wonderful lady, okay? And you're like, oh no, let's not do an abortion. YOLO, let's do it all the way, okay? You automatically go down to a one income household in that process. Like, it's just ridiculous. Nobody's going to want to do that. Women have careers. They want to continue working. They want to continue, because there's no parental leave, okay? Having a baby, carrying a pregnancy to term, is 100% a major L in your career, okay? That's just how it is. That's just how it is. Women already experience some form of gender gap, wage gap because of this, because your bosses look at you and say, well, there is going to come a time when, you have a child, and in which case I'm not going to be able to rely on you for 9 months and perhaps even longer than that, and your performance is going to diminish, blah, blah, blah. These are like actual concerns that factor into the wage gap or the wage disparity amongst men and women. So all of that factors into it. If people had paid family leave, if people had paid vacations, where these desires to go out and these European and gay desires to go out and I don't know, sit underneath the sun for extended periods of time were fulfilled, then I think a lot more people would be open-minded to the prospect of having a child. Because as it stands currently, no time off means the one time that you have off, you're going to go and do that thing. You're going to go on a vacation. If you have any money to begin with, you don't have time to think about even having a child. Most people have children for an incredibly narcissistic reasons, to create a mini-me, a pretense at immortality, a status symbol to dress up and show off. I would not have children unless I had something to give them. Love, wisdom, education, a happy home. Most people can't afford to have children for the right reasons. Okay, I forgot that this is a relatively young community, or millennials and older Zoomer community. So everyone is r/antinatalist. So everyone's popping off in the chat. Don't forget, you're only doing it for immediate satisfaction. Yeah, the thing is, only rich people do that. I got too many K-pop concerts to go to. I have no money to even think about having a child, Lamau. That's what I mean.
Weigh those concerns that people have.
Absolutely. So I think one problem a lot of Americans have is this high...
I'd have a kid so I can get the Pringles out of the can. Yeah. You need to have a child because those nimble hands can work in a factory. Okay? That's why you need to have a child.
Time preference. We want to chase immediate satisfaction, like traveling or going out to eat at restaurants. One of the problems in America is that since 1963, when our fertility rate was at its highest, the family unit has changed so much. So both mom and dad are often going into the office and they're spending very few hours with their children. And that can be very stressful and isolating. And it's a huge burden to take on. So one thing I think a lot of people are really asking for is to have that village to come behind them and support them. And so for a lot of the viewers listening in today, if you have adult children, one thing you can do is be involved in your grandchildren's life and support them that way.
I would just also add, instead of using that money as a bonus.
Yeah. This is how we'll fix it. Dude, get those olds back to work, dude. Get those goddamn olds back to work. It's time for grandma to take care of the children. Now, ironically enough, I say this, but like, this is very much Turkish culture. Okay? This is how it works for many families outside of America. So, that is normal. Is what they do in China as well. Yeah, I mean, it's what they do everywhere outside of America, again. But considering that the United States of America is hyper-capitalist, everything has to be transactional, so you got to pay grandma to take care of the children. The government has to pay grandma to take care of the children.
Bonus, maybe put that money into lowering the cost of fertility.
Also, the other question is like, where does grandma stay? Where does grandma stay? You don't have a home. You're renting out a one-bedroom apartment with your wife if you're fortunate. And let's say you had a child. Where is grandma staying? On the futon? Like, you don't have anything. Nobody has anything. The are they supposed to do? It makes no goddamn sense.
Because there are people out there who desperately want children, who are having trouble. That money could help them.
Yeah, this is exactly like the Fox News take on factory jobs. Megaphonic says, I have a feeling this is going to go over just as well as the U.S. factory jobs thing. You're going to get a lot of Fox News watchers hearing this and going, yeah, those other Americans should do this, but not for me. Multiply by hundreds of thousands of people. Exactly. Yeah. Who thinks we should have more children? Everybody raises their hands. Who is going to have more children? Nobody raises their hands.
And would really alleviate this problem as well. Maggie Anders, thank you for your insight. We appreciate it.
I have to convert my garage to a suite for my mom who just moved in 6 months ago, and my uncle just fired me after 17 years. I'm sorry. Yeah, you put grandma on the street in the 92 Honda Civic. That way you avoid getting tickets. Win-win. You feel me? I know what it's like to be laid off by your uncle. Trust me.
Here's how much it costs to have a baby.
More specifically in Nashville, Tennessee.
So we're gonna start with the ultrasound that we had to get a couple days before Aspen. So that ultrasound.
Okay, you don't have to get an ultrasound. You know what I mean? You just here's a way to be cost effective. Okay, have the baby in a barn. Have you thought about having the baby in a barn? Wing it. Just wing it, dude. Pop it out. Pop it out in a barn. The baby will grow accustomed to its environment. Okay? Let me tell you. The baby pops out immediately. The baby is around hay and all the smells and all of that. Now you have a farmhand. Okay? Pop the baby out in a barn, and much like a doe, okay, or like a baby deer, right? The baby plops out and instantly gets to work. You don't even need to cut the umbilical cord, okay? The baby's like, what am I doing? Wow. You immediately put the baby under the cow. It gets to work. It starts working on the udders. Teach the baby the importance of work, okay? That's how you do it.
Ultrasound cost us $2,000.
Yeah, Jesus was born in a barn. What are you, too good for Jesus? That's right. And yeah, built-in leash. Exactly. The umbilical cord basically allows the baby not to leave the vicinity of mama.
$67.85.
Just to make sure the baby was okay.
And now onto my actual hospital stay. So we stayed for just under 3 days.
So whatever the observation room is, we got charged $413.65. No clue what that is.
My guess is maybe triage. You know, they were observing me.
The recovery room cost us $2,702.45. A hospital stay, I don't know how that's different, but that one cost us $4,438. The emergency room cost us $1,932.90. And I don't know what the laboratory is either, but that cost us an additional $1,439.20.
The only thing I could think of with the laboratory is like maybe like my IV that I had. I don't know. But then we go into labor and delivery. So this one is the one where I would expect it to be the most expensive because that's clearly why we're there. We got charged $10,500.
Wait, so I'm confused. I thought Trump was going to fix that with $5,000. I'm worried. It feels like $5,000 is not even cutting a fraction of the cost of simply having the child. Hello? What's going on? First of all, why don't you take on a fuck ton of debt? Okay, you want to have a child? You want to improve American birth rates? Guess what, dude? It's time to get on a payment plan. Okay, it's time to take on a ton of credit card debt.
$93.40 for that one. And then our anesthesia. So my epidural cost us more than anything else. That one was $14,000.
Donald Trump is going to give you a third of the anesthesia charge for having a child. Oh, God, this is so funny. We're so freaking cooked, dude.
$446.15.
Was it worth it?
Yes. Yes. We also had a pharmacy and supply cost. So pharmacy cost $2,007.25 for supplies.
Okay, you don't need that. We already made it illegal for medicine. We made it illegal. No one can have pharmaceuticals anyway. Shouts out RFK once again. So like that, see, we are already eliminating so much of the cost, chat. God, this government is so wonderful, dude. The bounty. Oh my God. Yeah, Klarna birth. Exactly. I'm telling you, dude. I am telling you, we're making America great again. No more medicine. Farm hands for all. Babies born in a barn.
$565.03. So the grand total for everything came out to $33,011.73.
But that was just for our stay. We also had to pay for Aspen, our newborn daughter, to be in the hospital.
So her hospital stay, to stay with us in the room that we also paid for, was $4,008.
Our complete hospital bill cost $37,019.73.
Luckily, we have insurance, but insurance only helps so much. So
I'm sorry. I don't want to be racist. I don't want to be anti-white racist, but like, you know, of course they named their baby Aspen. Like, no disrespect. They seem wonderful people. They seem like wonderful people, but they look like they would name their child Aspen or like Kaylali. Oh my God.
how much we have to pay out of pocket to have a baby in America is $11,000.
Brexley, Braden.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Yes, it was worth every penny, but she was an expensive baby.
It's a lot of.
Don't need the epidural either. When I was born, the doctor refused to do it because of religious reasons. It makes the birth unnatural. Oh my God, your poor mom. Holy shit. That's crazy. Braden, Aiden, Caden, and Hayden. They did that to my mom too, Lamau. That's insane. That's like medical malpractice, I feel like. That's psychotic. How the is that allowed? Dude, what? Do Americans always fantasize about how backwards other brown countries are? And we just straight up are more backwards than most of those countries, okay? Like how people be like, oh, dude, what is this? Sharia law is coming to the country. And you got like Christian Sharia running rampant through the South.